So my favorite memory of time spent in Apex began when we had moved here 3 months after we arrived in 1998. I saw a newspaper article that showed that some folks were trying to construct a playground for the community. And so I reached out and somehow became involved in what is the Kidstown project. And that was in 1999. It was built with hundreds of residents from the community, and it's still here today. The great part about what I get to do in my daily job is that I will be able to look at where it's going to be in the future. So here we are, 2023. It's still standing, but it's going to have a new life soon. And so I'm looking forward to working with the community again to make it have its next story. So I kind of need to say that I have a purpose in life. And it was something that I came upon when I was a young woman. And that purpose has stuck with me as a sort of a mantra that I say. And that is the opportunity to welcome the opportunity of contributing to the world's work in the community where I am placed for the joy of service thereby bestowed. And there are 3 or 4 words that really stand out to me that I think bring joy into my life every day. And the first is welcoming. And so the town of Apex is just, from the day we first drove in, has been welcoming. And I have met hundreds of people and been involved with numerous types of volunteer activities and community service and employed by the town. And so having that welcoming community has been something that has been super important to raising our children and growing my passion for parks and playgrounds and greenways, as well as contributing, like being able to contribute to the community, giving my time in the advisory commission, and being able to help produce parks and facilities that are shared by all, inclusive, that allow everyone to feel welcome and be involved. And so while it's not one thing, it's the fact that every day that I've been in this community, I'm able to fulfill my purpose. And I can get up every day and walk out the door, do whatever it is I'm going to do, whether my passion or going to work or meeting with friends, and knowing that I can live out that purpose. What makes Apex home to me is that since the day we moved here, and every day that I am able to be a part of the town as a staff member or volunteering in some event or activity, is that we never run out of places to go, things to do, people to see. And so I'm always really proud of the fact that, for the most part, everyone who comes here sees something and is able to find happiness, find their community, find something that makes them want to come back, wants to stay. And then in my job, I'm able to watch, I always call it the joy and wonder of a child who maybe hasn't had the ability to be on a play space or use a piece of playground equipment or be with their friends and family in a space that's engaging and active and colorful and fun. And so knowing that we've got a lot of new facilities that are offering those opportunities, but also being prepared. I can't wait to see the joy that comes when we open Pleasant Park, because it is not just a park for the people, but a park of our hearts. And so I know that will probably surpass many of the things that have happened to me in the past, because it's such a wonderful place, and I think it will bring, and I always talk about the stories, that it'll bring stories of lifetimes and memories that will be made there. So I'm looking forward to that as probably my next new favorite memory. So my hopes for Apex's potential really go back to what I think of as my purpose. So a welcoming place that provides an opportunity for everyone, no matter age, race, interest, abilities, disabilities, whether or not they're active or passive. It's to grow everything that we have in this town to be the biggest, brightest, boldest, most accessible, safe spaces for people. And so I think we have a great town interest in that community building. I think that we'll have more support for extending and connecting our greenways and building new parks and playgrounds and renovating our existing sites to be great places. And while that's my work, that's also my passion, because I spend my vacation time looking at sites all around the world that might bring ideas back to town, and I look for new trends that catch people's interest that maybe we don't know about. I look for partnerships, and so every day I get the opportunity in my work to bring those passions and interests and ideas back and being able to grow them. And so I think with the sense of community that we have, with the welcoming nature of residents, and whether or not you've been here a long time or just a few days or weeks, everybody is like, please come in, be a part of our community. We welcome you, and we want to offer you all these great things. So I think one of the things that's really important to the start of a project is determining what your needs are, but also what the value is. And there's a term that we always talk about is a play value, and I'm always calculating play value. And it's not necessarily a numeric number, but it comes out to be that is what do the people get to do when they're there? What do they see? How do they feel? What activities can they do? What does that do for their body, their brains? And so in a sense of a community, you're looking for what the needs are. And so it's not just, do you need an athletic field and do you need a walking trail, but what do you get to experience when you're there? So one of the things that I'm probably most proud about is the ability to try to create, and I always talk about the story behind the facility, a theme, whether it's colors or shapes, or whether it's a fairy tale, or whether or not it's a historical perspective, is to create the story of the site, determine the needs, and then find ways to create the value. And so we've done parks like Salem Pond Park that have a historical value of representing the depot and the log pond and railroad tracks and all of the things that tie to our historical perspective. Kidstown was based on community involvement, where we went to several of the schools and we had assemblies and we asked the kids to vote on what types of things would be included, like the spaceship and the castle and a ship and a depot and a train. And so all of those components became a part of this project. Pleasant Park came out of an idea of traveling to Oz and being there, but once we looked at all of the stories that happen within fairy tales, we realized that they all are set in the Enchanted Forest. So we sort of shifted from it being one story to a way to develop a site that had like hundreds of stories, because we all can create a playground, a play space where somebody can, slide down a slide or swing on a swing. But being able to imagine yourself in a different world and living out and acting out a different character or story means that you build those mental connections. And so there's not just the value of the activity, but the value of the story that comes with it and the memory that you make with that. And so we have some new projects that are coming that maybe don't give us the opportunity to be quite as creative. We're going to do a bike track, bike park, and a street hockey rink, and some other unique things that will bring play value in the offerings of those types of facilities. But we're also going to be doing some renovation to some older parks, and those will allow us to gather some historical context and make sure that we're able to tell their story of what that park meant to that community or what that park meant to our town. And so for me, it always wraps back up to play value, the value that you bring in building a community and creating a story that they can share, and then taking those memories and those experiences with them.